filming setup feels weird today, I don't know why. Hello everyone, welcome to another video. I thought we'd talk more about acting drunk. If you haven't already, check out my other video on this topic, which seems to be doing very well indeed. I think it's doing really well because most people think it's a joke. Anyway, I thought I'd make another video about acting drunk. And there are 5 different ways you can act drunk, for those of you who are starting out and wondering what to do about this. Where to begin? In this video we're going to discuss various acting techniques and theories that you can apply in relation to these 5 types of drunkenness. And the 5 different ways you can act drunk are as follows: the celebratory drunk, the superior drunk, the flirty drunk, the sentimental drunk, and the angry drunk. Now of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's a good list to start with if you're starting out, approaching acting drunk. So without further ado, let's talk about acting drunk. I thought I'd go for a red theme. I don't know, I'm wearing a lot of red. Today it's very Christmassy. The cold has hit, it's October and I'm suddenly in autumn. I've got my autumn cup. It's not really autumn cup, is it? Right, the celebratory drunk. Okay, in order to understand these 5 types of acting drunk, or 5 types of drunkenness, it's important to understand the different reasons why people might drink alcohol in the first place. So one of the reasons is people drink alcohol to celebrate. Knowing why you might drink alcohol is connected to your objective and your goal. Again, this harks back to Stanislavski's units and objectives. What is your goal and what smaller units are you doing to get to that goal? So one of the things is, if you're acting drunk, why is your character drinking? One of the reasons they might be drinking is to celebrate, and here we get the celebratory drunk. And usually when you get the celebratory drunk, it's a particular type of person who reacts a certain way to alcohol. People react differently to alcohol, of course. That's another thing we will look into in a moment. But for now, let's just look at the 2-dimensional celebratory drunk and add layers and make the character a bit more complex as we go along. So this is the drunk person who surrenders to being drunk. They don't hide the fact that they are drunk because they're happy, celebrating something, and it's like, woo, let's get some champagne and woo, we're drunk and happy. We all know what people celebrating act like, if you think about it. They're usually smiling, laughing, cheering, the odd random shout, like woo and stuff, you know. Maybe some out of tune singing, dancing, bad dancing. That's to do with the way the drunk person moves as well, which we'll come on to. We'll come on to it right now. So the reason the dancing might be bad and the singing might be out of tune is because drunk people usually aren't in control of their physical movements. I do have another video where I talk about this in more detail, about the movement of a drunk person, so check that out. As such, the drunk person's movements are deliberate and controlled because they are aware that they cannot control them. But why would they want to control them if they deliberately got drunk in the first place? Don't they know that drinking affects motor skills? This leads me on to my next point. The most important mindset you can have when trying to act drunk is don't try to act drunk. And this mindset applies to all types of acting drunk, whether it's celebratory, flirty, sad, melancholic, whatever. No genuinely drunk person anywhere, whether they're flirty, angry, sentimental, whatever, they don't want to show how drunk they are. Genuinely drunk people always try to hide it. And it's usually this battle between hiding their inebriation and being totally legless, drunk, whatever you want to call it. This battle between these two things is what gives a drunk person that characteristic drunk behaviour. The movements, the conflict. It's the conflict. The trick to acting drunk lies in the conflict between being drunk and trying not to look drunk. Now, a common mistake starting out actors make, and dare I say even some professional actors, is that when they act drunk they show how drunk they are. And this makes them look like they're acting. They demonstrate the drunkenness, they demonstrate the wobbly movements and the cliched drunk attitude, and it just looks fake. It looks like bad acting. It doesn't look genuine, doesn't look realistic, whatever that is. But that's another video. It doesn't look realistic. It looks like they're acting. The viewers don't want to be made aware that the actors are acting. If this were Brecht, that's a different story. The next type of drunk we are going to talk about is what I'm calling the superior drunk. You can call it whatever you want, but sometimes when people drink, sometimes they get a bit arrogant and high and mighty and overconfident. And it's undue, this confidence often. So to reiterate or to clarify, this is a drunk who for some reason feels superior and elegant even though they're not. And this is because drunk people tend to be over deliberate in their actions. I explained just a moment ago that this is because they know they can't control their actions, so they're trying not to look drunk, and so they're over deliberate in what they do, how they speak. And this can make them look like they feel superior to everyone around them, or it can add this air of superiority. And sometimes it is because the character is feeling superior, because they're acting superior, or they're acting like they feel superior at least. Other times it could be just the motor skills trying to function. But anyway, the reason that they look superior is because also superior people tend to make deliberate actions, stand tall, poised. Usually the superiority in a drunk person's mannerisms is undue. So there's that conflict there. Plus, they wouldn't feel superior if they saw how drunk they actually looked. Plus, they wouldn't feel superior if they saw how drunk they actually looked. So what do I mean by over-deliberate actions? Just to clarify on that point. Well, a drunk person trying to appear sober will often spend too long doing a simple task. Like drinking from a wine glass, for example. Or maybe putting the glass down. I mean, think about it. If you've watched anybody drunk, just think about it. You've seen them do it. And as I've said, over-deliberate actions are usually because the drunk person doesn't have much control over their physical movement. Or maybe the room is spinning and maybe they're lightheaded. Either way, there are a number of external and internal factors that they are battling with. All about the conflict. That's what makes acting fun, I think. Another type of drunk is what I'm calling the flirty drunk. And again, you can call it whatever you want, but you know what I mean. They're those people who get drunk and feel the need to flirt with people. A useful way to access the mindset of the flirty drunk is to consider why they might be drinking alcohol in the first place. Again, Stanislavski's units and objectives. What is your goal? Why are you doing it? What mini units are you doing? Units, alcohol. What mini units are you taking to fulfill that overall objective? And if you think about it, it's never usually a case of acting generically drunk. You always have to retain other elements of the character that you are embodying. So remember that. Don't forget your character. Don't lose your character when you're acting drunk. Because acting drunk is not something to be taken on as if it were generic. It's not. It's specific to each character. So know your character and know how they would act drunk. Know your character's objectives, why they are drinking alcohol, and does it help them fulfill their goals, or does it provide another obstacle? So for example, is your character awkward? Are they flirty generally? Are they troubled? Are they happy? Are they just celebrating? Are they clever? Are they naive? And so on. So the flirty drunk will most likely be drinking on a date or at a social event in order to loosen up and flirt more with another character. They'll most likely be at a party where there are other people to flirt with. This is not exhaustive. Think about your own character in relation to your own script. What is going on in that situation? Whatever the reason, your character is most likely going to be around someone they sort of fancy, on some level at least, even if it is when they are drunk. Being flirty and being drunk tend to go hand in hand, because for some reason when people are sober they are terrified to even talk to people. Both the emotional states or physical states of being flirty and being drunk involve similar emotions actually. Loose muscles, physical openness with other characters, slightly more confidence, and an increased likelihood of taking risks. Think about it. You all know what I mean. Okay, the loose muscles aren't specific to the flirty drunk. Generally, acting drunk involves relaxing the muscles, or at least looking as if you have relaxed muscles. After all, alcohol is a muscle relaxant. So, the muscles will be relaxed. Your character might fall about a bit, but they won't want to show that, remember. They don't want to show that they're falling about. They do not want anyone to know that they are not in control. And also think about it, muscles are relaxed, the tongue is a muscle, the tongue might be a bit floppy as well. And this brings us on to how a drunk person might speak. They slur sometimes, don't they? And they over-enunciate their words because they're like dealing with a more relaxed tongue muscle than they normally would have. So if you're acting this type of drunk, where they're so drunk that they're slurring, imagine that your tongue is floppy and causing you to over-enunciate words because you know your tongue can't handle them in your current drunk state. Then there's the sentimental drunk. This character is usually melancholic and sad. Sometimes people drink to drown their sorrows. However, as we all know, alcohol only exaggerates your current state and it can sometimes exacerbate someone's deep inner turmoil and bring it to the fore. So, here, you might end up with the sentimental drunk character feeling sorry for themselves, moping about miserably. All in all, alcohol tends to heighten your character's emotional state. So, a happy person genuinely happy, getting drunk will most likely get even happier. A sad person will most likely get even more sad. Alcohol is a depressant after all. And in those cases where you have a character who is showing a happy exterior but sad on the inside, this battle as they get drunk become less and less controlled, and you'll see the underlying layer of sadness seep to the fore a bit more. Acting drunk is a great way to experiment with different layers of a character, and it's a great way to experiment with those internal battles that they might be feeling, or those internal battles between different feelings. The final type of drunk I'm going to talk about in this video is the angry drunk. This is a character who, when drunk, looks for an argument in everything. They get defensive. You might get bitterness, you might get shouting and unkempt shamelessness. An angry drunk with something to say isn't going to want to appear drunk, perhaps the most out of all the different types of drunk. Remember I said don't act drunk? An angry person, someone who's lost control of their emotions, is not in control. They don't have the power in any power situation. Their status has dropped. And you combine this with them trying to battle being drunk. You've got an interesting character, perhaps a bit comical. If you combine an angry emotion with other drunk characteristics, such as loose, relaxed muscles, over-deliberate actions, then you're going to combine opposing or contradictory forces or energies, aren't you? Think about it. Such as being angry and on the attack, and being deliberate and cautious, because you know you're drunk. This conflict of mannerisms will lead to portraying a drunk character in a somewhat realistic way. It's not going to be two-dimensional, is it? It's going to be layers there. If you want to know more about acting with opposites when you're acting drunk, then you can check out my other videos about acting drunk, and I also have some other videos that talk about camera acting and acting realistic, which look at conflicts and opposites. And if you want to go on further and think about the notion of opposites and what it really is, why not check out my videos on dialectics? Shameless plug. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has just been a bit about 5 different types of acting drunk. These types are not exhaustive. People are complicated, as I've said, and you can layer these, and no one is one thing, and people are evolving all the time, and it depends on your character and the situation. There's so many other factors getting involved, but as a useful starting point to accessing how one might be drunk in a general sense, because I don't have your characters or your scripts, this is a useful overview, some useful theory that you can take to your own scripts. If you have any questions or comments, then, as ever, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll try and get back to you. Okay, bye for now.